Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Thursday. It's December 8th, 2022. We're very glad you're with us today. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to just put your questions into the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, just put them into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Also, for those on Zoom, if you'd like to connect with everybody else who's on the call, this is a great opportunity. Put in your contact information. Let everybody else know who you are, what you're looking for, and what you can help, because you never know who's going to be able to help somebody else who's on the call with us today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, a website to help those around the United States with careerusa.org. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Or if you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and I'll tell you about our program. We've got a good program coming up tomorrow morning. I'll tell you about that at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT Crew. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile is not going to get you a job. It will get you a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So if you want more information, just go to dallaspitcrew.com. All right, well, every session we've got different speakers talking about networking. You see a big list. I mean, networking is networking. It's all the same thing. It's reaching out to other people, and how do you do that, and why do you do what you do? They all talk about sort of the same basic thing, but I thought it was really important that, you know, you hear different people's points of view. So every second and fourth Thursday of the month, we have a different speaker doing that. Today, our speaker is Michael Goldberg. He coaches financial advisors and sales producers on how to network and how to expand their connections so they can bring more business in. He's going to talk about knocked out approaches to networking. Michael is an amateur boxer. That's sort of his little gimmick there. And you can see his book over there on the very right-hand side. So this is a pre-recorded session. This is actually back from 2021 when he spoke to the group live. So we're going to play that. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat window. We'll get to those at the end of the session. And I'm going to flip over and we'll get the presentation started.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody, depending on where it is that you are weighing in from. I think out of all the networking speakers, and I'm just number 22. I'm just one of 22, really. It's just, you know, we just got to grow on trees. Yeah, I'll set up number 23, but I'm sure I'm the only one that's a boxer. That is for sure. So I live and breathe the connection, whether it's in and out of the ring, and that is for sure. I've been at this for 21 years. I've been teaching and coaching, typically financial advisors, brokers, insurance agents, and those in the financial services industry, how to grow their business through networking and referral marketing, even recruiting. My clients are the Morgan Stanleys and the Merrill Lynches of the world. And every now and then I get an opportunity to be able to share some time and help those that are in between careers with some of my ideas. So what I will do is, with that, I'm going to share a slide or two, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
All right, let's do it. Just toggling something on my screen. Bear with me. A second. There we go. That didn't do what I wanted it to do.
We don't see it yet.
Here we go. All right, we up and running. Give me a thumbs up.
We do.
All right, here we go. So networking like boxing, or boxing like networking, is about the connection, right? The more and better connections you make in the ring, the more chance you're going to take the round, win the fight. It's certainly the same thing in business. And you know, probably better than many, it's the same thing whether you've been upsize, downsize, right size, left size, super size, and you happen to be in between careers. It's about the connection. maybe you have realized that many or most, or maybe in some cases, some of the interviews that you've had are probably from people that you know or that you met, and then it led to this, right? It often doesn't come out of the blue or through ads. It does sometimes, but usually it's through the connections that we have or that we're making. Agreed? So that's probably why I'm number 2 in the queue here, is because it's really just kind of amping up that message, right? 22-fold. All right, so let me just get into some concepts. I'm just going to kind of warn you. This is my disclaimer. I usually don't warn my opponents, but I don't look at you as being my opponents. I think that we're in one another's corner here. I let them know that I kind of throw, like, my punches are fast. I go fast and furious. I lead with the right. I do that when I speak too, as I speak very, very quickly. And I intentionally put a lot of stuff on my slides. I know that's a best practice is not to do that, but I intentionally do that thinking that you can take a snapshot or take notes and everything is right there for you to do that. And at some point you're going to get the slides anyway. So don't panic if you don't get everything. So I do load up my punch in the forms of the slide. I do share a lot of info and I do talk fast. Having said all that, if you've got a question, a comment, a blood curdling yell, an emotional outburst or something, chime in a chat. I'll have Jeff kind of manage that. I'm happy to, again, I'm not following a script, so I'm able to, just sort of shuck and jive right in mid throw, and I can hopefully cover the question if I see it. And certainly as I kind of gauge the relevance in terms of the topic, but I'll try to work all that stuff out. All right. In boxing, it's all about winning the round. I think in job search, it's all about winning the day. Right. So this is my concept of winning the day is having you envision what an ideal work day might be for you. Like, what does that look like? An ideal work day for you. It's different for everybody, but think about what that looks like and what you would want it to look like in terms of getting a footprint closer to where you want to be. What part of the day are you high energy? I'm like wicked high energy, like early in the morning. That's when I train. That's when I take on my biggest, baddest tasks throughout my day, work related. Is anything that I think is most challenging, I take that on early in the day because I feel like I'm best equipped to take that on early in the day. Your high energy time might be a different part of the day. So if you've got something that you need to tackle that you're thinking, hey, right, maybe tackle that at a point where you're high energy. What time will you block in your calendar given that? Like everything in my calendar is geared towards what I got to get done, right? So I schedule it so nothing can interrupt that. Like this session was blocked in my calendar, but also updating a resume would also be blocked in my calendar if that was important to me. What is your 30-day goal? Are you on track to even have a 30-day goal? So we're in the beginning of, call it the mid part of September already, right? But it feels like the beginning of the month with Labor Day and everything else. So what's your 30-day goal? Like, what is it that you, outside of I want to land a job, right? Obviously you want to do that. And if it's your 30-day goal and that's what it looks like, what type of job do you want to land? What industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, company name? What does look like? Get granular and surgical over that. So this way your activities from a networking standpoint will be, and you can write this down. I have a slide that says this, where you need to go, what you need to say, and with whom you need to say it. So let me just repeat that. That's a lot there. I want you to think about what your 30-day goal is, September 30. Whatever year it might be where you are, right? September 30. And I want you to think about what does that look like and be specific. Like I want to potentially work for, or at least interview with maybe these 5 companies in this industry. And as soon as you're that specific about it, and I think I use the word surgical and granular, then I want you to think about where you need to go, what you need to say, and with whom you need to say it with. That's networking, baby. That's networking. That's the 1, 2, 3 punches of networking. Is where to go, what to say, with whom, as it's relevant to what it is that you want. Does that make sense? If so, give it a thumbs up. Let me see a thumbs up. Are you with me? This is the interactive part of the show. All right, we're just sparring now. Here we go. What got in your way yesterday? So once you start to think of it this way, what got in your way yesterday? And again, that's not good, bad, right, wrong. It's just what is. And is it something that you can overcome for a fresh day? So if you don't feel like you won yesterday, that's okay. What are you gonna do to win today? Overcome it. There's a lot of this in job search. I get it. Try to see what you can do to overcome that. And then finally, what must will be in your daily fight plan? What the heck is a daily fight plan? Well, daily fight plan is a one sheet that keeps you on track and on point, given what it is that you're looking to do every 30 days. And I'm going to talk about the daily fight plan at the end of the session. And I'm even going to email a PDF, a fillable PDF of a daily fight plan that my clients use and I myself use. I'm going to send that to Jeff and he's going to get it to everybody. How does that sound? Good? So to get usable, actionable tools out of this. All right. It's all about winning the day. So how to get the most value from this time is have your favorite beverage handy. Well, hopefully not your favorite, right? Like, mine, right? So if it's like a bourbon with an ice cube in it, we don't need to talk about that at 2:10 in the afternoon Eastern. Whatever your favorite bev is, right? Minimize or eliminate distractions. Try to avoid multitasking much. I know you're all doing. I see you. I know you're all doing it. Minimize it. Really stay, because in 50 minutes, 48 minutes, I'm gone. I'm taillights and a memory ding ding, rounds over. So really absorb this. I was on somebody else's webinar like a week and a half ago. And I found myself doing it. Everybody does multitasking, checking email, taking other notes, blah, blah, blah. And I realized 15 minutes went by and I had no idea what was happening. And this was a webinar I was really interested in, a speaker that I really like. I'm even friends with him. I was like ignoring him. It was background noise. I got zero value from that 15 minutes. I shut my email program down. I took a legal pad out, blank sheet of paper, and I got hyper-focused on what was happening. And I got a lot of value from that. If I was multitasking, maybe not so much. Again, this is important. What's more important to you now? Part of this, if you get through this the right way, you might be, a footprint closer or a jab closer to winning the day. Take notes, lots of them. Be open to learning, changing, implementing the whole thing. Don't say to yourself, I already know that. You might, but think to yourself, how can I best implement that? If I like that idea and I already know that, could I be doing this more, better, differently? Like that's an open way of perhaps thinking about it. Ask questions, because if you ask the right question, you get the right answer. If you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. So ask questions, lots of them. There's time. Post comments in the chat box. I like that. And at least, and as Jeff said this, do at least one thing more, better. I don't think he said it like that, right? But see if you can get at least one good idea that's either new to you or that's a reminder that you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to do that. And then that's winning the day, I think, right there, right? Okay, so this is me again. Books, speaking, the whole thing. Those are some of my clients, the John Hancocks and the Morgan Stanleys of the world, TED Talks, the whole deal. I've been at, and it's all about networking. Like I live and breathe this stuff, man. I live and breathe networking. That's me, the logos, some of the things I'm up to. And yes, I am a bourbon drinker. If you caught the Buffalo Trace deal, I'm a Peloton fanatic, usually not at the same time though. So here is my blueprint for networking in the spirit of job search. I believe connecting the dots like this are important. I'm going to talk about all this stuff. Is rule number one, I think you got to focus on a target market. If you don't have a target market, and I define a target market, I'll get into this, in more specific terms in a little bit. I define a target market as who you serve best and therefore wish to serve most, or where you do your best work. I break it down into industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, company name. That's your target market. In my experience of only teaching this stuff for 21 years, is that the more specific you are about the marketplace that you're focused on, the more likely you're going to get connections, land interviews, and land a job. That's just the way it is. It's not about going a mile wide. It's about going a mile deep and being very focused. My niche market is the insurance and financial services industry. That's almost all the work that I do. The meeting I had right before this was with a client firm. The meeting before that was with a big client firm. My calendar looks the way that I want it to in winning the day, because that's the marketplace I choose to serve. So the where I go, what I say, and with whom is relevant to that. Make sense? So focus on a target market. In boxing, everything's off the jab. I think in job search, everything's off the target market. Like it really is. Develop a target company list once you've got your target market. What does that look like? Companies that you would be on your wish list that make sense from a cultural standpoint, from an industry standpoint, and also perhaps geographical. Participate in an association in your target market. Professional associations attract the cream of the crop, right? The top fighters in the division in any industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, and in some cases, geography. Participate in association. I get hired by associations. I often will say, show of hands, who here is in between careers or in job search? Invariably, it's nobody, which tells me that there's not enough job searchers that are taking advantage of associations, which I believe are hidden gems. Create a top 50 list of your centers of influence. I'll get into this. And it doesn't have to be 50, but the goal should be to get to 50. Like your networking should be to find the next center of influence on your top 50 list. What's a center of influence? It's somebody that does not compete with you, but is looking to meet the same people or the same type of people that you are. In essence, you're fishing in the same ponds, but you're not and you're after the same fish, right? But you're not competing, right? In fact, you can introduce one another, and that's powerful. That's a big thing in financial services, is center of influence strategy. I teach a lot of that stuff because I think it makes sense. Without a target market, it's hard to determine your centers of influence. Does that make sense? So think about professions that would be great referral partners for you, and partners as if there's an exchange, and what might make sense given your target market. Be active on LinkedIn with your target market, right? So it's being active on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a ripple of what I discuss in terms of some best practices on LinkedIn, but it's how is it relevant and focused on your target market? So important. Again, not general, right? Being specific. Establish a daily routine, ta-da, the daily fight plan. Set weekly goals, 30-day goals, again, on the DFP, daily fight plan, and demonstrate and it's up to me attitude. And I mean this with respect. Job searchers often blame the economy, often blame the pandemic, often blame the summer, right? It's up to you. It's up to you. Again, I've been doing this a long time and I've got stories. So it's just about owning it. Again, I'm setting this up, so bear with me here, right? I'm a fighter, so I'm going to come out fighting. So bear with me here. In my experience of doing this for a long time is what I have observed why job seekers struggle. And it always makes me sad when I hear it. But here's the truth. Not enough focus on what is wanted. There's just not enough focus on what it is that you want, i.e. target market. Not enough openness to direction or feedback. Not enough networking in the right places. Knowledge about LinkedIn and the usage thereof. Emphasis on giving, helping, rather than taking, receiving. Not enough or very little remnants of a plan or a daily routine. Accountability in place or hard work toward the objective. Rhetorical. I wonder how, or does this relate to you? And I wonder how it could relate to you, right? And again, we all go through this. Even folks that aren't in job search go through this. But this is why I see that there's a struggle. And this is really what I'm prepared to speak with you about today. All right, let me kind of go off the cuff for a second. I'm an adjunct professor at Rutgers University on top of everything else that I do. My first class was last night. First time back in the classroom in 2.5 semesters. One class, public speaking. I've been doing this for 19 years. This is a breakdown of an actual student's grade from 2 semesters ago. And this is a smart girl, right? Smart student. It's a public speaking class, so bear with me here. Left-hand column, 60% of the grade is made up of presentations, 20% of the exams, 7% assignments, 3% the resume. I teach that in the class, the resume, because they have to know how to get jobs. And 10% is attendance and participation. This student ended up getting a D in a public speaking class. Why? Because it's not that she did poorly on her presentations. 2 of them she simply didn't do if you look on the right-hand side. So out of 60 possible points, she got 31. She got a B, a C, an F, and an F. It's not that she did poorly, she just didn't do it. Exam, she did well there, and 195. Assignment, she did well there. Resume, she just didn't do it. It's 3% of the grade, and she had 12 weeks to complete it. Just didn't do it. And attendance participation was pretty good. You do that math, it's a D. Her parents were outraged. This is true. She came back to me through email. My parents are just pissed off. Can you change my grade? Well, no. Did you show them all the work you didn't do? Like my kid just is now a freshman in University of Tampa. If my kid had these grades, like she better not come home, right? The point is that you got to do the work. As a student, it's all laid out there. It's just a question of either showing up and doing the work or don't. Respectfully, that's what gets back to this. Is not enough, right? Do the work. It's just bottom line, do the work. All right, here we go. 3 knockout objectives for you and your job search. In my opinion, it's about 3. Managing your money, managing your connections, ta-da, why we're here, and being massively in service to others. Managing your money, again, with respect. If this is a thing for you, I want you to just think about this. And these might be conversations that you need to have with significant others. Is in terms of your money, what's the worst thing that could, like, God forbid, worst thing that could possibly happen? And if that were to happen, what's your plan? What's the best case scenario that can happen, right? You get the job, you get the severance, you roll over the 401k, whatever it is, what's your plan? And what is the most likely scenario? What's your plan? The point is, have a plan, right? So the kryptonite to fear is a plan. The kryptonite, so it's about having a plan. So that's a money plan. It's also having a plan around networking, managing your connections, social media follows, job search leads, and the whole thing. And check that list, check those lists twice. Again, I'm going to get into all this stuff. Then certainly be massively in service to others, having a networking mindset and behavior, which is all about the give, right? That's not me. I wish it were, right? So it's really about having a plan. Bum, bum, bum. All right, networking mindset. Here we go. Content time. Get ready. All right. In my opinion, it all starts, networking starts from the mind first, like anything, right? It all starts from up here in terms of how you're going to go about doing whatever it is. From a networking standpoint, it's about having a certain mindset. And I gather that my 21 predecessors shared something similar, is health and safety, having a mindset around that. There's this thing called a pandemic out there. Whatever your beliefs are, it's affected a lot of people. So when I meet people or I'm speaking with folks, just from a human standpoint, the first thing I think of is, how are you and your family? Is everybody okay? I just think that way. With my friends that are in Northern California, or have you been impacted by the wildfires? New Orleans, have you been impacted by, Ida, the whole thing? I just think that way. I'm not saying that if you don't think that way, that you're not compassionate, but that's just where I go, is just being sensitive to that, just because it just feels like the human and the right thing to do. So coming from a place of health and safety, everybody's been affected by something, just be mindful of that. Part of the networking mindset is being interested in learning, having a focus on learning about people and asking questions, offering help, being a resource, actively listening to people, being engaged, providing resources and ideas for folks, even connections, which often leads to introductions. All of this comes from a networking mindset. Now, you might think to yourself, this is as obvious as a ham sandwich, but I got to tell you, it ain't. It's just not. I've got too many stories. And most come from job searchers, because job searchers are always coming from a place of connect me, help me, hire me. And it's about the give. If it's a networking mindset, it's always about the give, right? If you give, you get. For networking to take, you got to give. Write that down. For networking to take, you got to give. All right, here we go. 6 reasons for networking. There's only 6. There's only 6 reasons to land a job. 76% of job searchers, according to Lee Hecht Harrison, which is a large outplacement firm, 76% of job searchers land interviews and ultimately a job through networking. So land a job. Second reason why we network is to generate business. So why somebody like me would be shaking hands, kissing babies, shaking babies, kissing hands, touching gloves, the whole thing is to generate more and better business. Social reasons is a third reason. Ever hear of Facebook? So if you just move somewhere and you're looking to meet other people that play tennis or other boxers or golfers or card players or bourbon drinkers or whatever it is, where do you need to go? What do you need to say? With whom you need to say it, right? And you can generate a social group just by doing that. My daughter just did that at University of Tampa. She said, Daddy, how do I make friends? Like the networking guy. Now I've got 21 other people, Jeff, to introduce her to. But I kind of worked on this. And now she's got this friend group that she had before even getting down there, because it was about, what are your interests? How do you connect with them online? What does that look like? The give, the get, the whole thing. And now she had this friend group by the time we brought her to Tampa. So cool. Like, this stuff works, like you think. So social reasons. 4th reason is to learn something, learn about a product, learn about a service, learn about an industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography. If you know with what you're looking to learn about, you can figure out where you need to go, what you need to say, with whom you need to say it. Networking, baby. 5th reason why we network is to pay it forward. Help a brother out, help a sister out. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Volunteering to help job searchers, that's a pay it forward move. where you're expecting nothing in return. You're just giving because it just feels like the right thing to do. Speaking at an event just because it's the right thing to do. I was booked a couple of years ago. I remember this. This was in New Orleans before, a lot of this nonsense is happening. Very big audience I was speaking in front of, and I found out that I was the only paid speaker at the whole event. All the other speakers, and this wasn't even in the financial services industry, this was in supply chain management of all places. And all these folks were grizzled vets that were retired or semi-retired. They were just looking to help some of the newbies out. Like, that's it. They paid for their own plane tickets, did everything else. It was just coming from a place of service, coming from a place of I want to stay in it. I love connecting and helping people, pay it forward mentality. And then the sixth reason why we network is to solve a very specific problem. So my definition of a very specific problem is something outside of the other five. So my dad is now in assisted living. He's totally incapacitated. He's going to be 84 next week. He used to be independent, taking care of himself, retired New York City police officer, as tough as they come. I lost my mom 5 years ago, and he hasn't been the same since. And he's in a really tough place right now. And he's very challenging, and he's in a very difficult place. He's argumentative. That's something that I deal with on a daily basis, is managing his senior care, because he's in a facility right now and blah, blah, blah. He got there because I was reaching out to certain people about this particular issue. And he ended up in this situation because of people that I knew and people that I got to meet. So solving a very specific problem, whatever that might mean, provided that you are focused on the right problem and you know where to go, what to say with whom to solve that problem. The point of all of that is this, and I'm going to move on to some raw content, is that I truly believe this, that networking can solve almost all of life's problems. I really believe that, provided that you're open, you have the right mindset, you have the right focus on what it is that you're looking to accomplish, and you go to the right places, say the right things, and meet the right people online and off. If you do that, you will be able to resolve almost all of life's problems. I truly believe that. I live and breathe this stuff. It's not just, I'm doing it, now I'm not. I need business, I'm doing it. It's about every day, like it's a lifestyle. And let me just say this, in job search, this has got to be an everyday, every moment thing. Would you agree? Give me a thumbs up. So true. All right, here it is. I'm going to get surgical now. What is networking? Here's my definition. It's a proactive approach to meeting people, typically quality people, in the hopes of learning from and helping them. That's networking. Now, I put proactive there. You might be thinking, can't it be reactive? Well, of course, it can be reactive. In fact, often enough it is, but not as often as it used to be. Why? Because there's a pandemic right now. So a lot of the networking that we have to do, especially as job searchers, not all of it, but a lot of it has to be virtual, which means it has to be much more proactive. Like, you have to proactively set up meetings on Zoom. You have to proactively, more so than ever, on LinkedIn and so on. There's more people using both platforms than ever, and yet they've both been there a long time. So can you be reactive? Sure. But the most successful job searchers or job seekers aren't. You've got to be proactive and have the intent. Important, my footnote, you need two components, in my opinion, to be really successful at networking, to be effective. You need a communication strategy that is specific and intact. And I'm going to cover all this. By communication strategy, I mean you have to have the ability to ask the right questions, listen, follow up, be able to talk about yourself, like elevator speech stuff. And then you have to have the ability and the wherewithal to be able to stay in touch. That's communication strategy. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And then the other component is to have a targeted network that's relevant to the communication strategy. And the more specific the targeted network, the more relevant the communication strategy. Make sense? Those two factors have to be in play. Otherwise, it's not going to be wrong. It's just going to be more difficult to be able to do what it is you're looking to do, especially now. All right, one-third dynamic. What the heck is this? I think I throw some math at you. The one-third dynamic means or sort of speaks to, in my experience, if you're a good networker, is that, and certainly this is true for me, is that I only connect, like truly connect with about a third of the people that I meet. I'm not saying the other 2/3 hate me, although they might, but there's just not a, like, you had me at hello. Like, there's tons of stuff to talk about. I can't wait to talk to you again. When you meet people like that, online or off, I refer to that as the one-thirder dynamic. The one-thirder dynamic. Then there's the two-thirders. The two-thirders are you meet somebody and they're a nice guy or gal, but there's no there. And I don't mean just in terms of content. I mean in terms of chemistry. Again, it's not good, bad, right, wrong. It's just what is. Here's my punchline. You see what I did there? Punchline is focus on the one-thirders. Focus on the one-thirders. We make this so difficult. Focus on the people that you have the best connections with. You get the most value, so will they, and it's way more fun. That's the one-third dynamic. So what I'm suggesting is that if you don't connect with everybody, that's okay. If you connect with nobody, and I don't mean this as a joke, if you connect with nobody, that's not okay. It means there's something that is happening that you may or may not be aware of. The number one thing that I have spotted, other than not being prepared for a conversation, in which case you don't have with what to say, is being focused on yourself. I'm not suggesting that you're doing that, but that's the one blind spot that I see where people don't want to connect with those that seem to be hyper-focused on themselves. That's not a networking mindset. Still with me? Give me a thumbs up if you are. All right. Okay, here we go. There's some rules to networking. These are some of my faves. I've got a book with like 23 of them. I will not bore you with 23 of them, but these are my faves, the ones I think are most relevant. Is have the ability or develop the ability to share personal stories. You've already heard a couple of mine. So whenever I have a meeting, I had 2 meetings with, one was a client firm, but new person in that firm. My previous meeting, this is just today, was with a brand new firm that is a true prospect of mine. And I shared, as we started, I said, I appreciate you carving out some time, Lori. May I just share a quick story with you? And I shared a story about bringing my daughter down to University of Tampa and some dynamics around that. I didn't spend 10 minutes talking about it. It was like a minute or two. And she said, yeah, I went through that myself. And she kind of shared an experience that was similar. Do you think there was a connection there? Pretty good. That's not the reason why I did it. I did it because that's what was on my mind. It was relevant. So I just chose to be human. And there was a connection there because she just brought her daughter and blah, 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 and the whole thing. And we had this was like 5 minutes of back and forth, but it was back and forth and it was fun. It made the other stuff easy. Again, it's not why I did it. I did do it to make a connection, but not in a manipulative way. I wanted it to be fun, not just for me, but for those that I'm speaking with. Like I wanted that to be collaborative and I wanted to share some common ground. It's also just relevant in my life and it's what's happening. Share current professional stories, but don't do it in the form of complaint, especially in job search. Please don't go there. Professional stories, maybe of challenges you're having, but not in terms of complaint. Professional stories of successes, professional stories that lead to ideas. So you can exchange that. That's fine. Share solutions and ideas. Again, avoid the negative. Ask great questions. Be interested. I'm really good at asking questions. I got good at asking questions because in my meetings early on, I used to prepare my questions ahead of time, right? That was my kind of like working the heavy bag. You practice a jab long enough, you get pretty good at it. So if you're not really comfortable asking questions, and I'll get into that in a minute, is just have them ahead of time, craft them and think about that, and you'll get to be good at asking questions very quickly. Focus on your target market. I mentioned that. Listen more, talk less. Obviously, I'm talking a lot right now because I'm leading a meeting, but if I wasn't leading a meeting, it would be very collaborative and back and forth. In fact, I might even be talking less than the person that I'm speaking with. Create and use your elevator speech. I'm going to talk about your speech. I'm going to talk about it. Be clear on how others can help. Be clear on how others can help. Like be specific as to how they can help you and also how you can be a resource to them. And that's the language I use. How might I be a resource to you? Or how might we be resources for one another? How's that? That's pretty good. That's networking speak right there. It's collaborative, it's giving, right? It's just light sparring. We're just getting our work in, right? Even Steven. Somebody in my audience, one of my clients once said something to the effect of, I think that's called a conversation. Like, duh. Yeah, a good conversation. All right. Here are some of my favorite questions. You can take a Polaroid of this if you want, but you're going to get the slides anyway. These are questions that I often ask or variations of these questions. And if I was a job searcher, these would be important to me. I would lead with a story. You might be saying, but that's not a question. You're right. I would say, may I share a quick story with you? And I've never had anybody ever say no, like not once. Like, can I just share a quick story with you? Something I'm going through right now. Boom. The University of Tampa, my kid's there thing. What do you do for fun? One of my other questions. Well, how was your summer? What did that look like? What'd you do for fun over the summer? Who do you work for? What industry did you work for? Where did you work? Something like that. Again, depending on relevance. How long have you been there? Do you like what you do? Do you like what you do? You know, 66% of those that are working right now do not like what they do. 66%. Most of whom are attorneys. Different story for a different day. And that's according to SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management. Anyway, if you're speaking to somebody that likes what they do, my follow-up question would be, what is it about your work that you love? Like, what is it like your favorite thing? If somebody doesn't like what they do or they're struggling, like they're in between careers, then my question is, I definitely want to explore, how I can be a resource and help you with that. But that's just my go-to. How do you market yourself, or how are you marketing yourself? Remember, networking's learning, right? So how do you market yourself? You might get a best practice out of it. What are some of your interests? Where do you look to network and why? What does that look like? Are there podcasts or virtual meetings you could recommend? VM is not voicemail, virtual meetings. Who would you love to meet and why? And how can I help you if I happen to like them? So if they're in 1/3rville, I might go the how can I be a resource to you route. If they're not in 1/3rville, I may not. So that's pretty much it. Do I ask other questions? Of course, but notice these are all open-ended questions. And also notice that that these are all questions that you would probably want to be asked of yourself. Like, wouldn't you want somebody to ask you these questions? Not bad, right? So I developed this based on what would I want people to ask me? So I know I'm down the road of 1/3rville if after I reach out to Scott Clark, nice to meet you. I reach out to Scott and I ask him some of these questions. After he answers it, if he counterpunches and says, how about yourself? I feel like we're probably on the road to 1/3rville, right? Because he's interested in me too. It's collaborative, it's back and forth. If I don't get that, it's an indicator that maybe we're not there. I'm now interviewing this person and they don't seem to have as much interest in me. Again, not good, bad, right, wrong. It just could be reality, that's all. Make sense? If there's other questions that you prefer asking that are better for you, then ask them, right? So just come up with your own interpretation of what this could look like. This is just simply my boilerplate and I have them memorized. So again, it's something you can adapt and certainly morph into what you need it to. All right, you must have a target market. I got into this, right? So I'm going to get specific now. Hang on, here we go. I believe target market is kind of like reducing a fraction. So it's like you start off broad and then you get specific. So industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic demographic, geography, target companies. Job search and certainly marketing is not an anyone, everyone, someone mindset. Because often anyone, everyone, someone equates to no one, respectfully, or a long time before no one becomes someone if you catch the drift. Like someone like who or like whom, right? Be very specific. That's so important. Unless you're Microsoft, you've got to have a target market, right? And unless you're Amazon, you've got to have a target market. But at one point, they both did. Reducing the fraction, that's kind of my metaphor, is most job searchers and most financial advisors, kind of in my space, have a 4/8 mentality. Right? 4/8, it's very, very general. I'm looking to connect with businesses. I'm looking to connect with individuals with money. I'm looking to connect with companies that are hiring. Well, that might be, but you're at 4/8 right now. But you can reduce that fraction to 2/4, as my daughter reminded me of. That's the lowest common denominator, Daddy. That's the LCD. So you can take the I'm looking for companies that are hiring to 2/4. What type of companies? What industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic demographic, geography? Well, let's see, manufacturing and distribution companies that might focus on semiconductors in the greater New York City area, something like that. And you might work your way into 1/2. Companies like ABC Manufacturing and XYZ Distribution. Do that and pump that into LinkedIn and see how many connections you have. You can do that in a matter of moments and it's free. You could look at all the people that you might know and start to reach out to them and start to do this whole networking thing with them and see what happens. Don't we leave opportunity on the table every single day? And I mean every single day. And that's reducing the fraction. That's your target market. All right. So let me take this another step now. Let's get into elevator speech conversation. And a good goal, by the way, if you don't have this nailed, and again, I mean this with the greatest respect, is a good goal, over the next couple of weeks is to decide on a target market or two that you're going to really hone in on. Industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, target companies. I have helped job searchers do this. And once that happens, a world opens up to them. It just does. All right, let me continue that thought process. This is an ugly slide, I know. So let me explain what it means. So on the left-hand side, I guess it takes over 3/4 of the slide. That is a snapshot of a video that is in my Knockout Networking University. It's my on-demand video, right? I've got a whole series of them and they get licensed by corporate offices. This one focuses on what I call the peace statement. That's my variation of the elevator speech. The reason I'm showcasing this, other than it's going to introduce what we're talking about, is this is the most watched video out of all my videos, out of all 24. It's only an 8 to 10 minute video. They all are, but this one by far is the most viewed. I wonder why. It's because we struggle with what we need to say, how we need to say it, and why we need to say it. And I'm going to unearth that in a moment. And then that's the Rutgers logo. We creamed Temple last week. Something like 61-14 or something. I've got 5 of the football players in my class this term. So I'm prepared to have a fun semester. But I put that there because I teach this stuff in my Rutgers class, because networking is a form of public speaking. And my students need to know how to talk to people. I joke, you don't know how to talk to people. They laugh. I said, but yeah, it's not going to be funny in an interview, right? So you need to know how to talk to people, need to know how to network. So I teach my networking ideas and this elevator speech called the peace statement in the class. And I have to tell you is that I watch my students over a 15-week period land internships and land jobs and get over themselves and get confident and learn how to network. And I get a chance to watch it. How cool is that? In fact, I have seen students as I guess as recent as last semester, even virtually, that used some of this stuff, landed a job and shared this, and then forgot that they were afraid of public speaking because they were so excited what they did that they just became a good speaker and sharing it. Why do I keep going back and teaching this class? It's beyond me. All right, here we go. Here's the peace statement. This is what it looks like. I have been teaching this concept for 21 years and it hasn't changed. I've been teaching this concept for 21 years. It has not changed. It's timely and timeless. Let me talk you through it. So the peace statement is my variation of the elevator speech. PEACE is an acronym. It stands for profession, expertise, environment, and call to action. This is how it works. Profession is who you are, what you do or looking to do, and how you help. Okay. Expertise is what you know. I like expertise to be in 3s if you can do that. So my profession might be something like I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, author, boxer. My company is Knockout Networking. My focus is helping sales producers grow their business. That's profession for me. Expertise, my 3s would be my expertise is in the areas of networking, referrals, and recruiting. Those are my big 3. What are your big 3? Environments are your target market, your industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography. And then call to action is your ask. Like, damn it, what is it that you want? So ideally when networking, I'm always looking to meet or be introduced to ... whatever that looks like. And that's your peace statement. It could be a 20-second version if you're in a conversation. It could be piecemeal, like it doesn't have to be like line and verse. It could just be back and forth, to be, make it feel like an authentic conversation. Or it could be a 1-minute intro at a networking meeting, like it fits. Now, as an aside, I didn't mention it before, but outside of this whole speaking, training, coaching thing is, I had the logo there, I just didn't mention it, is I also lead a national networking organization called the Networking Group. We have communities all over the country. It's not geared towards job search per se, but it is geared towards business owners and sales producers. And we teach this stuff there because when everybody's doing their intro, we want them to be conditioned and trained to be effective at this. That's kind of like part of the deal. So they all have a peace statement. So there's lots of connections that are happening because a lot of these folks are trained to do it. So what does this look like? It could look like this. Yours might look something like this. You can take a snapshot. I prefer to not think of this as a script, although it is kind of script-ish. I prefer to think of it as a structure, not a script. So it's not about memorizing every word. It's about owning the concepts. This is a framework of the concepts that you might own. Like I could rattle off my piece statement without looking at anything, but I own these concepts, so I kind of know it cold. And you will too. You'll know yours cold. But this could be a good starting point for you. Let me just break it down. So again, I kind of took it from a financial kind of world, right? So I'm a financial professional in transition. I put it right up there. I think it's important for people to know that you are in this place of change, focused on working as a banker in the private equity space. Right up front. I can end that and say, how about yourself? Like right there, like that could be right back and forth. My expertise, so that's the second component. So what's your background? My expertise is in the areas of investment analysis, accounting, and financial planning. That could be your big three or some interpretation of that. Environments, I'm focused on working for firms like ABC Partners and XYZ Equity Group. Environments, call to action. I'm always looking to meet or be introduced to, It could be the centers of influence, or it could be actual, hiring manager types, whatever. Any advice, insight, recommendations as to how I might make a connection like that would be great. How about yourself? How can I be a resource to you? This is a piece statement. This concept has helped thousands of people, like thousands of people make more in connections, and probably hundreds of people land jobs because I've watched it, I've seen it. And that's the piece statement. Any questions on this concept? I'll kind of open it up. Comments, anything in the chat box, Jeff?
No, nothing in the chat box. People are doing some networking. They're posting their information. So
Yep, I'm seeing. Okay, cool. All right, if there are questions, just because I know there's a lot of content. All right, so here are some rules. Rules to the piece statement is kind of like this rules to Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club, but we do talk about the piece statement. Rule number one is you got to be asked. Got to be asked. Like you can't just work a room and say, hi, I'm Steven, profession, expertise, environments, call to action, and blah, blah, because they'll throw you out of that room. It just, I mean, it won't throw you out of the room, but it's TMI, as my daughter would say. It's just too much info, right? So you gotta be asked, but there's 3 exceptions to the you gotta be asked rule. If you are the speaker at an event, and I would encourage you to volunteer to speak at events, especially in professional associations that might represent your target market. How's that for a best practice? So if you're the speaker at an event, your piece statement can certainly be your intro, right? And now it's relevant. Or if you're at a meeting that avails you of a 30-second or 1-minute slot of time to give your pitch. Well, don't you think it's tailor-made for a piece statement? Like right on. And then the third sort of exception to the you have to be asked rule is, or you already have a relationship with whom you're speaking and networking with. So if I know Jeff really well, I can say, Jeff, can I just bounce something off you real quick? I'd like your opinion. Profession, expertise, environments, call to action. That's going to fit. Why? Because there's context. The context is around we already have a relationship, right? And that works. All right, so that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is keep it short, sweet, to the point. Your piece statement should not be a 1-hour diatribe. What I am doing is a 1-hour diatribe. It should not be your piece statement. Make it 10 to 20 seconds, unless it needs to be a minute. But again, it's not about owning the stage. What it is about is putting enough out there so you can collaborate about one another's piece statements. How cool is that? So if each of you have a piece statement, you're both a call to action, you got something to talk about, don't you? Right? And that's powerful. Be specific. So come from a 1/3 perspective in terms of connection, and then come from a 4/8 to 2/4 to 1/2 perspective in terms of specificity. Do not compromise your niche. Don't keep changing it. Pick your 1 or 2 niches and stick with it for a while until you have a reason to change it. If you keep changing it, then this may not be the best way of going about it. It's not about making what you have fit. It's about going to the right places, saying the right things, meeting the right people. So there is a fit and you're that fit, if that makes sense. Use this with prospects, networking partners, family, friends, countrymen, the whole thing, centers of influence. Oh, it's a we thing, not a me thing. So it ain't all about you, right? It's about we. I identify with the pronoun of we. How's that? So make it collaborative. It's about exchanging piece statements. One version per customer. You're the customer. Tom might be thinking, you know, I could have 3 or 4 different interpretations of the piece statement. And maybe, but that would be really difficult to do. Probably better served to have one and just be really good with it and own that. And once you have that, where do you need to go? What do you need to say? With whom you need to say it? Not a sales pitch. Not a sales pitch. So this is not a way to pitch. It's a way to collaborate, call to action, exchange, get connected, and finally find your own voice. It should not be scriptish. It should be a first-rate version of yourself, not a second-rate version of me. And that's the piece statement. All right, there's a lot of there, but this is one of my favorite approaches, only because I see it work only all the time. Top 50 list I'd mentioned to you is, I think once you have that piece statement down, target market, all the concepts that we've been talking about, it's now about networking with people and compiling a list of people that are logical centers of influence and those that are fishing in the same ponds as you, but don't compete. And these are folks that you're looking to develop a good to great relationship with. Some of them you already know. This is a good exercise to do in front of reruns of Friends on Netflix. It's to start compiling your centers of influence that are probably already in your phone or already in your LinkedIn that are relevant to the connections that you need to make. It is time well spent. Oh, by the way, 80% of my own clients that come in, new clients, come from my top 50 list. Like, I work my top 50 list. Is that I make sure that I have a personal connection with everybody on my top 50 list at least once a month. Now, some are friends, but they didn't start off that way. And 80%, the 2 meetings I had today came from my top 50 list. What do you think about that? Right? It's just the way it is. It's because it's what I focus on. You know what it costs me? Nothing. It costs nothing. It's just a question of planning my day, winning the day, and being focused. All right. I'm not going to be able to get into a lot of this stuff because I'm looking at the clock. But there is something I do want to get into with the rest of the time that we have, is LinkedIn, because I know that it's relevant. And I know that everybody here has heard of it. Is so, like you don't already know, but LinkedIn is a social media of choice for business. I believe that there's a 1, 2, 3 punch to LinkedIn, and it's in the form of posting, connecting, and engaging. Posting, connecting, and engaging. And I think that a strategy for that makes sense. Minimize look at me posts. Right? It's about adding value and information so people want to follow you and learn from you and connect with you. Use LinkedIn, that's LinkedIn, not Long Island, LinkedIn every business day, or at least every other day, at least every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your target market is a thing now. Follow those that are in your target market that are active, because if they're active on LinkedIn, and you can see that if you go to their profile, about halfway down the page, you can see active or activity. And you can see how active somebody is. If they're very reactive and proactive on LinkedIn, they'll probably be that way with you. Have a goal and a plan. And if you haven't already, I mean, what are you waiting for? Connect with me. All right, here's the 1, 2, 3 punch to LinkedIn. Posting, connecting, engaging. Posting. Now, I don't know if compliance is a thing for you. In my world, financial services, it is. I don't know if everybody here is in between careers. So this is with respect to compliance, is great posts are business practices. You can even share some of mine if you want. Comic strips are always good. Again, as long as they're relevant and they're appropriate, of course, and business related. Quotes, shares, trends about your target market, right? Again, getting into the specifics. Always relate back to business and your target market. And what I like to do is I like to tag at least 3 of my centers of influence from my top 50 list. How do you do that? Well, after you post, you can now hit the @ sign, and then there's a drop-down window. And then I would just simply write JEFF or Jeff Morris, his name will come up. And now I've tagged him, which means he will get a notification once I post or comment. And that's powerful. There are some of my top 50 that always want me to do that. The rest, I just don't want to bug. Or in some cases, I just think the message is relevant to some of them. And again, it's about relevance. Connecting. So posting, connecting is reaching out to people with a note. It could be a DM. It could be a direct message. This would be an example of what one might look like. Hello, Sam. I see we both have a focus in the manufacturing industry, provided that's your target market. See how it's collaborative? Let's connect. If you're game, I make it a little cute, and explore how we might help one another. See how it's collaborative? Looking forward to the prospect of coordinating. Warm regards. That's to use your own name, by the way. But notice the best practices here. Notice how it's very we focused and it's collaborative, right? And people will react to that. There's no question. And then engaging, right? So social media is all about engagement, but why you're looking to engage. So in Facebook, it's one reason. On Instagram, it's another reason. Certainly in LinkedIn, it's either more business or landing a job. So engaging is you want to like people that you're following, especially those in your top 50. In fact, comment. Usually, I never just like. I try to comment, and my comment isn't like nice post. I try to put something specific about the post. You know, I might get cute with my brand, you know, weigh in with this about ba, 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 or I really like how you mentioned ba, ba, ba. Like I get specific, as I did with this platform. Share. So sharing is a way of engaging, tagging people, sending a DM, and then inviting them to events. So if you're going to a job search event, or you're going to a manufacturing event, if that's your niche, invite those that you're looking to connect more and better with that are in or that you want to be in your target market to the event. What better way to get connected with people than to invite them to events and to platforms where they themselves are going to get value? So it's getting back to winning the day. And give me a thumbs up. Did you find this hour valuable? A lot of stuff, right? I'm just scratching the surface, right? But hopefully number 23 will take it from here. So let's get back to winning the day, right? So in light of all that stuff, ideal workday, high energy, blocking the time, 30-day goal, what got in your way yesterday, just recognize that, no big deal. How are you going to overcome it? Daily fight plan. Here's your daily fight plan. I use this myself only every day. And this is what it looks like. Of course, the PDF I use is much cleaner than this, but this is like conceptually what it looks like. So daily fight plan is I kind of start with the P's, the purpose. So the purpose is write your 30-day goal and be specific, right? And again, I'm going to send you a fillable. You just type it in and it shouldn't really change unless it does, but it shouldn't change every day. Be focused on that goal unless you need to update that. Again, it's about relevance. Priorities. What should be completed today, no matter what? Like I got to get a resume to that hiring manager. I have to it's got to be done today. And then there's a people component, right? Networking. So who do I need to create a touch point with today? I divide people into 3 columns: prospects, people that might hire me, people I'm waiting on for stuff, whatever that looks like, and then centers of influence, my top 50. So it's people that I'm going to be reaching out to. And again, it's not hundreds, but it's just 1 or 2, right? Very doable. That's my people component. The 4th component is projects. What must get done today to move these projects forward? It's not necessarily completing the project, but it might be chipping away on some of what I'm talking about here about the P statement. Maybe you're going to make components of the P statement in your summary statement on your resume. So that might be a project that you're looking to move forward. And then finally, make it personal. What will you do to refresh or reboot? Maybe you want to get on the Peloton. Maybe you want to walk the dog. Maybe you want to walk the wife. Maybe whatever it is, right? You want to so whatever that's going to be to keep you refreshed and keep you human, I think that's okay too. And that's the daily fight plan. So remember how I began? This is how I'm going to end. These are the best practices. This is what I believe it takes to have an effective plan going into your networking campaign to make the connections that you need to and to land the job that you ought to. I'm going to take it off of screen share. I'm right at the top of the hour. I want to be respectful. Does anybody have any last minute comments, questions, emotional outbursts, or Jeff, did you want to put a finishing touch on?
Yeah, well, Michael, there was a question. Todd asked, how do you stay regularly engaged with all 50 of your COIs, Center of Influences?
Good question. I don't stay engaged per se with all 50 at the same time. I just make sure that I'm engaged with them throughout the month. So every 30 days, I look to create at least 1 touch point with each member of my top 50. That's how I do it. But many have become friends. I'll be honest with you. I've been at this game a long time, and you may not have 50 yet. So call it 10, call it 8, doesn't matter, right? It's really aim on growing and developing the list and making sure that the list is enriched. But I do have it printed out every month, and I do have it on my desk, and I do take notes, and it does get updated because some people fall off the grid. Some people change jobs or change roles or retire or fall out of love or fall into love. And that's just life. But if I keep a running list of my faves going and it's about connecting more better with them, I've got something going on and it's fun and it's valuable and it's mutually valuable. It's not just a take thing, it's a give and take thing.
All right, very good. Anybody else? If anybody else has a question, you're welcome to unmute your mic and ask away. Anyone? Going once, going twice? Stephen.
Yeah, this 1/3 dynamic or 1/3 dynamic. How did you steal that from someone or did you develop it on yourself?
Oh, no, I think that's mine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And how did it come to you?
You know, it came to me because when I first started networking and I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and my expertise was not in that area, it was something else. I realized that the more I focused on them, the more and better connections I had. And as I started to get better at networking, I started to gauge the amount of people that I'm speaking with and the types of conversations. And I realized that I never really got more. And what I think is pretty good, I'm pretty good at this and I'm pretty active. And I just realized that I've never really been effective at, like awesome connections, like you had me at hello with more than 1/3 of the people that I was meeting. And it just seemed to be the number. So I've just figured, there's something to this. So if I met 10 people at an event, I just felt like 3 or 4 of them were just awesome sauce. And the others were fine, but it was just like, we just hit it off, and that just kept happening. If I met 3 people, it was 1 or 2. So that just became, there's a dynamic to this, and I just thought I have to call it something and frame it, because then we could focus on getting better. And so that's where I went with it. I also realized that people that are not good networkers, they're not making 1/3 of connections. It's way less.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. The other takeaway is that it's okay to not connect with everybody, because nobody will. You're never going to be 10 for 10 or 3 for 3, right? It just won't happen. Again, I'm not saying that you're going to hate anybody or that they're going to hate you, but there's a difference between connecting and connecting.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. Great information. All right, that's Michael's presentation. So as I mentioned, I did put in the chat window the 2 handouts. Is one with the full slide deck, and the other one is his daily little form that he puts out every day, the daily fight plan. So you can use that, and it's fillable, so you can do that right off your computer to do that. Any questions? Questions, comments? He's full of energy, isn't he? Lots and lots of energy there. All
Well,
right,
Jeff,
let me just
I'll tell you
share.
what, Jeff, I'll make a comment. We all hear about we're selling ourselves and that the job search is a selling situation. And I really like the idea of emphasizing it's also a marketing situation. And so a selling mindset as well as the marketing mindset.
Right. All right, since we are past the top of the hour, let me just share a couple things. Career, if you have your career to say, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow morning. The North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting at 9:30 Central Time. We'll be talking about the 1-page bio with Minna Brown. I think a 1-page bio is extremely important. It's a valuable tool to have in your toolbox. You should be sending out your bio to every one of these networking contacts that you're about to make. You don't send out a resume. A resume says, help me, I'm looking for a job. A bio, though, tells people who you are, what you do, and how you can maybe help them. So it's a little bit different kind of tool. It's a marketing thing, just like Walt said. It's something you use for marketing. We are meeting in person or online. So if you'd like to join us in person, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, you'll be able to watch this on Zoom or Facebook Live. Next Tuesday, we have a special speaker to talk about how to uncover the hidden job market for LinkedIn Tuesday. So join us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Next Wednesday, we'll be talking about, for interviewing Wednesdays, we'll be talking about avoiding interview crashes, common errors that Mark and Walt see and have seen over the years. No matter how much you practice, people tend to make the following mistakes, and they're going to talk about that. And then next Thursday, being the 3rd Thursday of the month, we have another special guest speaker, Mitch Jacobs. Mitch is used to work at
the Jewish Family Services as a career counselor. He was there for almost 30 years. And so he'll be talking about effective resumes. So come join us for his presentation next Thursday. If you'd like to join the Career FW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. Great way to expand your connections and network with other people. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then go down to the very bottom and you'll see one of the playlists will say networking. You can click where it says that red arrow view full playlist, and that way up will come a list of all the different dates and topics. You can go back and watch any one of these at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the email of the day, the topic of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. Please remember, Career FW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 14 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Thursday afternoon, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow morning, or we'll see you one day next week.